And they say it every day. We want the Jews' annihilation. We want to annihilate the Israelis. Of course, they want to annihilate all of us, too, we Americans. But that's beside the point. He never brings that up, does he? How come he didn't say today, you know what? What's going on in the Gaza Strip is unacceptable. We in the United States believe the firing of missiles into population centers in Israel, that's unacceptable. Those flotilla efforts, those are provocative. That's unacceptable. We will not tolerate a nuclearized Iran. That's unacceptable. How come he didn't say any of that today?
For decades, the conflict between Israelis and Arabs has cast a shadow over the region.
Let's stop right there. What's going on in Egypt, in Libya, in Syria, in Iran, and the rest of the Arab world has nothing to do with Israel. Absolutely nothing to do with Israel. Nothing. But now this is what's casting a shadow over the region. This tiny little speck on the globe. Tiny little speck on the globe. And it's interesting when we start history, isn't it? Why are we at 1967? Why don't we go back 5,000 years ago and see who owned that land, Mr. President? Why not? Shall we? No, we can't do that. That's too far. Every holy site that's holy is Muslim and Arab. Every Jewish and Christian site apparently is not holy. It's amazing to me. Have the Arabs and the Muslims given up an inch of territory? Ever? Oh, the Palestinians were there. No, the Palestinians actually were in Jordan for the most part. But let's forget that too. Let's forget 5,000 years ago. Let's forget about Jordan, or as we used to call it, Transjordan. The Brits come in 100 or so years ago. All right, we're going to do these maps. All of a sudden, Saudi Arabia's borders are forevermore. Yet Saudi Arabia never had borders. All of a sudden, Kuwait's borders are forevermore. And we're even going to send in the United States Marines to protect them. All of a sudden, Iraq's borders are forevermore. And all the other borders, the only borders that are up for debate endlessly are Israel's. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. For the sake of the world, for the sake of this country, we must be mobilized for the next election. We must be mobilized for the next election. There's just too much at stake.
The fact is, a growing number of Palestinians live west of the Jordan River. Technology will make it harder for Israel to defend itself. A region undergoing profound change will lead to populism in which millions of people, not just one or two leaders, must believe peace is possible. The international community is tired of an endless process that never produces an outcome. The dream of a Jewish and democratic state cannot be fulfilled with permanent occupation.
Ah, there you go. And yet, Mr. Obama, it is a Jewish state. It's right there. And it's been there for a little while, over half a century. So what do you mean it cannot be fulfilled? It has been fulfilled. And this phrase, permanent occupation, that's right out of the Palestinian handbook. You even talk like the radicals. Now, folks, when you listen to him, doesn't that make you nervous about the United States? How he views the world, how he views liberty, how he views the rule of law. He's every bit the radical leftist I've always said he is, and I've always been attacked for saying he is. Now, the Israelis really need to figure this out. They really need to cut the cord, at least during this administration. I really believe that. if they get sucked into this, they will be on the way to self-destruction. Netanyahu put out a statement and said these borders that Obama is proposing are indefensible. So we have a president of the United States making a speech to the Arab and Muslim world and the rest of the world, apparently without even talking to the target of his speech, the duly elected Prime Minister of Israel, about what he's going to propose, because he's trying to set him up and undercut him and force his will on him. This is a guy who figures he's just dealing with another GM.
Failure to speak to the broader aspirations of ordinary people will only feed the suspicion that has festered for years that the United States pursues our interests at their expense. Given that this mistrust runs both ways,
he means
as Americans have been seared by hostage-taking and violent rhetoric and terrorist attacks that have killed thousands of our citizens, a failure to change our approach threatens a deepening spiral of division between the United States and the Arab world. And that's why 2 years ago in Cairo,
cut out the dramatic pauses.
I began to broaden our engagement based upon mutual interests and mutual respect.
Broaden our engagement. Yeah, you're always engaged, aren't you? Now, did you hear what he said? I'm not playing these clips to listen to his voice, I promise you. These are telltale pieces of information. He just said that we are the ones provoking the hate from this part of the world. I want you to listen very carefully again to this. Cut 7, go.
Failure to speak to the broader aspirations of ordinary people will only feed the suspicion that has festered for years that the United States pursues our interests at their expense. Given that this mistrust runs both ways, as Americans have been seared by hostage-taking and violent rhetoric and terrorist attacks that have killed thousands of our citizens, a failure to change our approach threatens a deepening spiral of division between the United States and the Arab world.
All right, let's stop. But you see the preparatory sentence there, or the preface. Failure to speak to the broader aspirations of ordinary people will only feed the suspicion that has festered for years that the U.S. pursues our own interests at their expense. Our own interests at their expense? That's why we're hated? No, I don't think so, Mr. Obama.